This is the report to the district for March 15th. And budget negotiations are going on. We're dealing with an all-cuts budget. Hopefully, I'd like to see us put out a referendum to add back some tax loophole closings to defray some of those cuts. One of the cuts we're going to have to make, though, is in incarceration. It's a public service like any other. We pay for it. It's expensive, $37,000 per average prisoner per year. And so cutting in incarceration, I think, is just as necessary as, perhaps more necessary, as cutting in social services, K-12, higher ed, consumer protection, environmental protection, all that. I've got a bill, Senate Bill 5866, that would, among other things, literally just cut sentences. It would be 120 days off whatever the sentence was if the person is a low risk of recidivism, of reoffending. 90 days off if the person is a moderate risk. 60 days off if the person is a high risk but non-violent. There is no eligibility here for high risk violent, okay? They stay in. What this bill does is give each of those risk assessment classes, each of those offenders, a certain amount of time off, takes the savings out of that $37,000 a year, right? So the Department of Corrections gets to do a little math. The amount of money we're talking about is enough to decrease the daily population by 638 prisoners. That's the average daily population. It doesn't mean 638 prisoners leave. It means that the average daily population of the overall prison system is down by 638. That's about a 3.5% decrease in prisoners. And we get to use that money, half of it anyway, for exactly the kinds of programs and treatment, education, psychological, anger management, job skills, that lower recidivism in the long run. In that long run, which is the way we need to think, we save, listen to this, 3,700 crimes being committed because we are treating people for their underlying situations that cause crime rather than simply incarcerating them. Elemental to me, and the funny thing is that it takes this kind of economic weather, this kind of recession, to get the fiscal push to do something that I think should have been done long ago for policy reasons. The fact is, in 1982, when our predecessors here in Olympia passed the Sentencing Reform Act, they had certain policies about what kind of time somebody ought to spend for what kind of crime. You do a crime, you have a certain number of priors, you're charted on a graph, and that graph tells you a range of what your likely prison offense is going to be. Well, since that time, you know, every time some heinous crime is committed in some legislator's district, oh, we've got to have a bill to increase the sentences for it, as if increasing sentences somehow decreases crime. It doesn't, all right. It takes that guy off the streets for so many years, but it doesn't decrease crime. This actually does. And it doesn't do it by taking people off the streets. It does it by putting people back on the streets and using the money for treatment. That's the news from Lake Wobegon. Y'all be good.